Hello, everyone. Hey, everyone. Welcome back. Welcome back, everyone. I hope you enjoy your Argentinian lunch today. Some nice steaks going on. My name is Nico Rajco. I'm the head of product and design at the foundation. And today I feel really honored, first of all, to be here with you. This is an amazing opportunity, one a lifetime experience. And I'm also super honored to open the most exciting section of the event. So today is the This is super exciting. This is the real alpha, and you're about to see for the first time ever the new desktop client that the team has been building for the past months. And it's a great honor to present also the team who has been building this amazing experience for you to see now for the first time and then to try. So without further ado, let me introduce Alvaro, the product manager of the Explorer. So give it up to Alvaro.
Hi, everyone. Let me turn my laptop. OK. First, I would like to thank you all for coming and from traveling from all over the world into this. So we have the opportunity to meet you in real life. And also to show you what we have been working for a while, very hard. But before I show you this, let me tell you a little bit about why we have created a new client, okay? Is it working? Okay, why a new client? A little bit of context. This is not working on my computer, sorry. Okay, here. So for the last few years, we have been working on generating the whole infrastructure that make this open world possible. That comes from the backend services, the SDK, with the IDE plugins, the Explorer itself, all the dApps, including the marketplace, the events and places. And all of that somehow like converge on the Explorer. And while making a decision like building the Explorer for a web application, it was a good decision because it allows us to lower the barrier of entry for everybody. Everybody has a browser, and you don't need to download any desktop application or something like that. At the same time, it has some caveats, right? So a web browser have some sort of limitations in terms of memory management or how much you can use the GPU. Several things that are actually like physical boundaries that we were not able to overcome. So we basically faced the same green wall of death. This was a physical green wall of death because we couldn't really move any forward. And that it was a wall as well for the roadmap because most of the time we were working on performance. We were trying to make sure that we squeeze thousands of scenes and wearables and emotes and events at the same time on something that loads in 30 seconds in a web browser. And working all the time on performance kills the roadmap, so we cannot really do more features or trying to cope up with what we have in mind, and we were struggling. So the decision was there, right? We cannot really overcome this situation because we have been trying to push that boundary as much as we can. So we need to go native. We need to try to build an application that gives us all the power of a computer and try to make that vision of an open world a reality. And let me tell you what we have done with that. So are we going to port the same web version directly? Are we going to do the same Explorer, but just on desktop? We tried that. Actually, you have a desktop application today, but that's basically a port that uses a web browser internally. So we needed to actually start from scratch on generating everything. And the answer is like, okay, we have limited time. Let's see what we need to do, or what are the first steps that we're going to do. So we did a breakdown of every single feature that was available in the Explorer. And we decided to pick what are the most relevant for us and start working on those. And for me, explore the world together has been like a, I don't know, like a mantra since I joined the foundation. Well, English tend to omit the subject, so it will be more like we explore the world together. Because every single word for that phrase contains like a fundamental vertical of things that need to be part of a good game. So it's about us, it's about our profile, it's about our digital identity and who we want to become in the digital world. Explore is about the interactions, the actions, the gameplay. How do you interface with a computer and how do you touch and feel the environment? The world is about the user-generated content. It's about the scenes, it's about the wearables, but also about the environment that surrounds it, the skybox, the engine. And then together is, well, in a way to speak, is how it puts everything together, right? It is about the most important thing. It's about the social network that allows. It's about the relation that we make, how we meet new people and we make friends, that it was make Decentraland a nice place. So let me use this mantra to start unveiling one by one of the features. So let's start with we. So we want to make sure that Decentraland is like the best place for you to create your digital identity and also to move that digital identity to other places. And I mean, building a digital identity is important because this is how we are, who we are in the digital world, and or how do we want to sell ourselves. It's the content that we create and the relationship that we make. So for the first thing that we want to do is we want to make sure that authentication is as easy as possible. So we have stripped authentication out of the client, and that use now the universal authentication that we have on web. We previously made a mistake, so nobody was able to access the desktop client with MetaMask. No longer that. If we allow new authentication methods in the future, it will be through this and not through the client. So you will be able to access with MetaMask, with Discord, with any of the social accounts. And that allows us as well to not only do a desktop application, but to do an application that can be migrated into other platforms. So maybe in the future we are distributed through other channels like Steam or Epic, or maybe we are in your PS5 or your Xbox. So that was important there. Next thing is that, I mean, people tend to like our avatars, right? So they're quite popular. So we wanted to give them a treat, and we have created a twist on the toon shader. So every detail pops up, colors, etc. You can see that in the video. So now we have different color ramps for shadows and lights. We have an outliner that is not a black outliner, it's a colorized one, so it uses the diffuse color of the textures in the different materials. So at the end of the day, those avatars stand out from the rest of the geometry, and you can identify people very well. But the most important thing about the avatar shader is that we are now PVR ready. So long overdue. So now we will be able to use metallic textures and roughness. So if you want to create a shiny armor, you will be able to do that. And also to have normal maps, so if you want to bump the details of your geometry. This is for now on the Explorer. We need to enable that on the Builder for you to be able to import your wearables. But I hope that will be pretty soon. Of course, if we needed to build a client, we needed to build, again, the backpack. We had this design for, I think we released the backpack like a year and so ago. So we didn't modify that much. We have moved the detail information into the left side. Is the left or the right side? It's the right side, sorry. Because we want a section to be important. We want to display more information there about the wearable lore or the metadata information of the wearable. Also to promote the user creator, the creator of that, to be able to go to the marketplace, but also to do actions on top of that. So you can trade, you can gift, you can drop, you can do actions on top of those items. And then we migrated all of those nice UX feature. Some of you have been asking for this for a while, so now you will be able to filter and search through wearables, but also you will be able to play emotes without actually accidentally equipping those. So it will be a specific button for that. So, I mean, we have rebuilt the whole avatar system and the whole underlying animation system that make it possible, and that unlocks the roadmap that I was talking about. So we want to be able to use a spring bone for simulations, so you can create hair animations based on the movement of the player. We can do facial animations in the future, so we are maybe compatible with VRM emotions or with the arcade blend shapes. So I don't know, why not? Maybe in the future we're directly compatible with a webcam and you can do expressions directly on your avatar, or you can do voice chat, and whenever you voice chat, your avatar is going to be using vocal sync. Another crazy idea that we've been thinking about is about wearable animations, for example. So if you create these wings and you want to add extra bones, so you have specific animations that are connected to the locomotion. So whenever I walk, my wings flap, or if I'm falling, I'm flying. We also have in mind, or the way that we build the animations for this, are with the custom walking styles in mind. So in the future, we want you to be able to create a mode specifically for walking cycles or for running cycles. So if you want to walk like a zombie or like a robot, you will be able to go to the marketplace and buy them from other creators. And other things like having color masks, so you can colorize your wearables, or reworking the slot system. I've been looking for this for a while. A lot of people is asking all the time, let's have this new category about funny packs or pendants or all of this. And I understand that, but I think we would need to move to a more flexible system where you can have whatever you want. So maybe we have accessories and you have a bunch of them. We will see what we can do with that. So yeah, that will unlock these kind of possibilities, and we will be working on those in the next few months. Then we go to the explore part of the phrase. So, I mean, if we have an open world with content made by the user, but then when you interact with the game, it's clumsy and it doesn't work very well, it's diminishing the content. So we want to make sure that it's accessible, it is intuitive, and it's fluid whenever you are interacting with that. Give me a minute. I'm going back. Okay. No, I'm going to do this later. So interactions. Now we have given superpowers to the left click. So you will be able to do everything with that, from moving the camera to interacting with the UI, but also to interact with the elements in the environment. So if you highlight an item that can be interacted, you will be able to see the prompts, also with the UI at the same time. So you don't need to be locking and unlocking the cursor all the time. And we have created a specific outline. So if you are far from an interactable, it will be highlighted in a different color. So you know that you need to approach that. And in terms of accessibility, if you press a button, we would like to see all the elements that are accessible. Of course, if you don't want that in your scene, you will be able to disable that feature. But for those that want to miss the locking the cursor, it is still there. Now the camera is centered on the avatar. We don't have no longer the avatar on the left side. But whenever you lock the cursor, the camera is going to move to any of the shoulders, because you can go to left or right shoulder. Again, accessibility for that. We want left and right-handed. And you don't need to move the camera on that mode. It will work as it was working before. Yeah, of course, we needed to change a little bit the camera. So the camera right now is like a little bit clumsy. It is too close to the avatar, and it doesn't allow you to see much of the environment, and it's very low. And it doesn't have any kind of acceleration or deceleration, so sometimes selecting object or doing big turns was a little bit difficult for gameplay. So we have modified the camera, and we have now 3 different modes. We have the first-person camera, but now it has smooth movement, so it depends on the acceleration of your mouse. So you can easily select objects, but at the same time, you can do big turns and do 180 degrees turns on that. And then we also have the new third-person camera that is a little bit up from what we had before, because it have a clear intention of being better for gameplay and to see more content around you. Spoiler, you will see more content around you. And then we have this new camera that we call drone view that takes you a little bit out from the player. And this is the camera suitable for exploration. So if you want to see things that are happening around you, or you want to have a high panoramic of a few people around you, you will be able to do that. Now is the time for the water. I mean, I don't know what I'm doing with this. What is going on? What is this? This is the camera, this is the next camera, and I cannot drink. Can you open this for me, please? So in the interaction, thank you. So when we built the new interaction system, we built it with a new input system, so you will be able to rebind your keys. And for French people, QWERTY keywords will be no longer a problem. And again, we want to make sure that we have some accessibility features there. We don't have them implemented, but this is a key factor for us. And we have gamepad support. It is not there completely, because we want to do a special thing for the UI, but clearly in mind, we want to be able to control everything with a gamepad. And we haven't yet built the in-world camera, so you won't find it there, but we have nice things for that in the future. Okay, current gameplay. Okay, how do you play this game? The avatar jumped very fast. The gravity is like in Jupiter. You cannot, there is no acceleration of the avatar. There is not much of a control on platforms. It was really hard to control the character. And again, that goes against the designs of the scenes. If you are designing good levels and the gameplay is not good, we are wasting your efforts. So we wanted to make sure that now the avatar and the gameplay feels nice. Again, we have 3 different types of locomotion. So we have walking, if you want to do a nice stroll around the Decentraland, as you ever did. That's going to be by pressing control. The new way of walking is that what we call jogging. It's a little bit slower than it was the previous running, but it is this probably the most one suitable for gameplay. And you have this kind of acceleration and deceleration. And then you have running that have different FOV, and is faster than the previous running. All of those velocities are parameterized, and that is important because of the next thing that I'm going to explain. So jumping. Now we have difference between tapping the spacebar or holding the spacebar. So for example, if you tap it, you're going to jump 0.5 meters, and I know that value. And if you hold it, it's going to be 1 meter. And if you jump when you're jogging, it's going to be 1.5, and if you're running, it's going to be 2 meters. And that have a correlation between what is the distance that you jump. It's going to be 6, 7, 8, and 10 meters. And we know those values because that is important for, not this slide, that I'm going to explain later. I mean, on this locomotion, we implemented like little things that are not visible, like edge control. So whenever you are on a surface, very close to a surface, you won't automatically fall. And other things like the coyote time. I don't know if you remember the coyote from the Warner Brothers, that he didn't realize that he was outside of the edge. before falling. So there is a similar concept in game design. So if you jump on a surface and pass a little bit, you will be able to still jump after you leave the platform. And that is a little bit less demanding on reaction times, but as well is good for level designers. If you want to do a more challenging jump, you need to use that extra space that you jump in the middle. So there is a lot of little things in the locomotion to make it better. Hopefully, whenever you test it, you're going to find out. Also, the avatar is environment aware. So whenever you move the camera, you will see that the avatar is moving the head around until to a point that he can turn it so it doesn't break his neck. In my case, it doesn't mind because I'm a skeleton. So it's going to have uneven ground. It's going to be placing the feet on uneven ground. So it's going to be accommodating more naturally. And whenever you are in front of a surface that have a collider, you're going to be placing his hands on top of that. Yeah. We want the avatar to feel more alive in the environment, so it's like he's aware of the surroundings. So these kind of things, we want that to be able to send that through the network. So if you move your head up and down, you will be able to say yes or no to the people. But also we want to, I don't know, point at things and say, hey, look at that. You physically see myself with my arm pointing to a specific point in the environment. So yeah, that's the kind of intention that we have with avatar awareness. And that's the slide that I was looking at before. So our intention of that everything inside the locomotion is parameterized is because we want those values to be accessible through the SDK so you can modify them for your experiences. So if you want to do higher jumps or running faster, or you want to disable specific elements in the locomotion, you will be able to do it. If I want to, I don't know, create a stamina bar and you only can run whenever you have stamina. Or you can modify the gravity to do like a moon-like experience. Or you can do jumping hops. So you can go from one place to another on a jumping hop. Those are the things that we want you to be able to modify there. You have a question? Yeah. No questions.
Can you change the direction of gravity?
The direction of gravity? Yeah. The gravity is a vector, so you can put whatever vector you want. I wouldn't say no more about that. Okay? Yes. Yes? Yes.
Is it works with other avatars as well?
With other what?
With other avatars. Can I approach other avatars?
No, it doesn't work. We specifically didn't do that.
We're going to hold questions till later.
Okay.
And let you finish going.
I'm going to answer that one anyway. Okay, we can think about it, but we don't want other avatars to be invading the personal space of the players, of the avatars, okay? So we haven't implemented that for that purpose. Yeah, and also we want... Okay. You clap for stuff very weird. I don't know. Okay, I don't know what I was saying. Next thing. So future locomotion. You will see in a hint about this, but now that we have this new system, we want the avatar to be able to sit down on chairs. Okay, that's where you need to clap. Like, yeah. Sitting down, the hardest thing to do in a game. We want to be able to create specific elements for the environment, so you can create stairs and climb them, or we can do double jumps, or flying, or swimming, or having like a common mechanic where you can grab and drop things, or having surface modifications, so you can have like ice that you can slide, or you have mud that you get stuck on. And also that comes to the locomotion and styles that I mentioned before on NFTs. So all that things comes together. Okay, let's go to the world. So this is supposed to be an open world, right? And when you're in an open world, you should be able to see stuff around you. And that's what we were keen to do. We wanted you to see as much as we can about Decentraland. But the most important thing about this is loading screens. It's not, that's a joke, okay? But we have redesigned them, so I'm gonna show you first the loading screens. So we have redesigned this loading screen in mind, so they are a little bit less boring, so they are interactable and you can pass through the tips. You have new styles and they are localized because we're gonna have international support, so it will be on different languages. But also the important thing about this is that this is prepared for SDK as well. So if you want to have tips on your scene and get information upfront about what they're gonna be expecting, you will be able to fit this with images and text and different languages, okay? And now the real thing, okay? Real thing is about current distance of radius, okay? So this is supposed to be an open world, and we were able only to render like 4 parcels away. And sometimes they didn't even load, so you face this wall, this ring wall, and you won't be able to do that. So how do we fix that? So we fix that by pre-processing your scenes. Basically, we run your scenes on background. We squeeze all the geometry together, and we decimate them to have a specific number of triangles and textures and materials. And generating all of those different levels of details allows us to render that scenes on a far distance. And the end result of that is that you will be able to be traversing the world and seeing everything of what the sea reaches. I need to do this now. Okay, as you can see here, you're rendering all the scenes at the same time. This is still experimental, okay? There is some level of details. Who's I know? It was Wani? This is still experimental because we get uneven results, okay? It depends on how much geometry your scene has, or how you evenly distributed the triangles, or how many materials. So, well, if you go to the development camera now, you will be able to see that we are not rendering only that, but the whole Decentraland. That's it. Okay, good. That was the reaction. Okay, so, but we also need stuff, okay. We will allow you to create those LODs. So if you have a scene and you want a specific representation, you will be able to have those 3D models, and with the limitations of triangles that we will define in terms of performance, and have them attached to your scene, so it will be rendered as you like it, okay? The empty parcels. Empty parcels, it was like a patch. So whenever we don't have any content to render for scene, we basically pick and choose from a collection of 8 parcels. That gives some sort of variety there, but we wanted to go bigger. So we have created a collection of new assets and a new system. But I'm gonna shut up now, and I'm gonna show you this. Is the sound on? Cool. So this is the new environment. So we went back to the original idea of this having this red grass. So we went to that original aesthetics. So now we have flowers and trees and grass that move with the wind factor. So there is wind there, and it is get affected by the light. So you can see how the surface of the leaves are affected by the lights. You can hear a bird chirping on the trees, and when you get to the ocean, you will be hearing the waves crashing. And it's because we are now an archipelago. Now the concept behind Decentraland is that the Genesis City is one of the many islands that conforms the archipelago of Decentraland to go together with the other worlds. All of this environment is procedurally generated based on the name of your scene. Okay, so everybody will see the same tree placed on the same place, but whenever you jump to a different world, you're going to have different environments. And now the environments of the worlds are enclosed inside an island, so you don't see like the texture map of the satellite at the bottom, okay? And so we have specific rules to harmonize this. So, we have rocks that clump together, or flowers that only are in a specific place or in different type of grass. And together with the environment, we wanted to redo the roads. And the roads are no longer scenes, okay? The scenes that we had before in the SDK or in the content server, they are still available for other clients. But now roads are part of the environments as well. So we have a collection of new assets like fountains and trees and all that. And we want to do fun mechanics in there. For now, you can play hide and seek because the bushes are very big and you can hide inside of them. So that's nice. I do that. It actually hides your name tag as well, so you cannot be seen. And that comes together with the new skybox. This one is like 16 times more performant than we had before. You can see there we have lunar phases, so every time that the moon appears, it's going to be different. And we try to craft like every single experience to be memorable, so we have a really nice sunrise and a sundown and good nights and stuff like that. And we finally, as you mentioned, some of you, we have 2 sons. By the way, I don't know. Little trivia about this, Decentraland is geocentric, so it means that the moon rotates around the world, okay? Because the sun has 2 suns, and one of them is rotating around the other one, okay? And whenever you see the sun moving on the sky, it's going to be on different phases of the rotation, okay? But the moon also have a satellite, so the moon also have a little moon, okay? Nobody expected that, okay? That happens. And that is why you will be able to control the skybox directly in the HUD, so you can do the perfect shot. So instead of having that behind the settings on a bar and you don't know what it does, you will be able to do that in the HUD and to play a lot with it if you want. Next on the environment, we were able to do that much, but we want to do a lot of stuff like having particles falling from the trees or having street lights that light at night. We want to have street lights because we want dynamic lighting. That is something that's probably going to happen. And we're going to have particles as well. So that is something that we also will provide to the SDK soon. And finally, you will be able to have a custom cube map for the skybox. So if you want to go to a world and replace the skybox and the directional light and color and stuff like that, the system is prepared for that. We need to all do the part of the SDK. So I thought you were clapping on that. Everybody complaining about the skybox and the cube map, and now nobody wants it. Okay. I don't get it. I think you ate too much. Okay, that leads us to together. There is a phrase there that says the real treasure were the friends that we make along the way. And again, that is true. Decentraland is nothing without the social network. It's nothing about the community that is behind it. So there is like a few points that we wanted to start working first, okay? The first thing is about the chat design. Hi, Prabhus. Where are you? We want the chat to feel connected to the environment, so you can feel that the players are talking. It is easy to follow conversation and to locate who is there. And also need to be easy to use, and it needs to be fun, okay? So we have implemented this new chat. Now everybody have a color assigned based on their name. We want that color to be custom, so you can modify it later. As you can see, we have bubbles, so you can disable those, by the way, but they are much fun. And we have also finally integrated the long requested emojis. So we have emojis. Everybody's excited about emojis. So there is a few things that we want to do on that. That was the emotes. We still have the emote wheel, by the way. I didn't mention this presentation. So that's the fundamental block for doing more stuff on the chat. We want to be able to have reactions of what people say, so you can have stickers on top of a message, or you can reply in a specific persons. We want to have emotions, so we have implemented these bubbles, but I don't want them to be all the time black. I want them to be angry, or I want them to be happy, or sleepy, or whatever. So we want those emotions to be part of what you're saying. Whenever you are sending an emoji, we want your avatar to actually spawn that emoji with particles and all that. So whenever you're in a party, you can really do some fuss. We want to have real-time translation as well for accessibility. And as well, we're going to need to be working on some of the things for feature parity. We don't have private conversation now, or mention stuff like that, but we need to work on that on the next few weeks. What? Okay. I wasn't playing before. And then we have the multiplayer designs. So it was important that, so the previous multiplayer didn't have like a fidelity factor on where you were represented. So if you were walking from point A to point B, that's probably not what the other player is going to see. Or if I do a corner, you're probably going to see me walking on a straight line, okay? That comes from having to do this on decentralized infrastructures and stuff like that. It's quite difficult. So we try to, as much as possible, to try to make this as real-time as possible. So this is the new multiplayer that we have. So we have created like predictive interpolation and extrapolation factors for all those messages. We have a new soft protocol for the message that we send. You can see the kind of latency that we have there. We are tested this with 100 players, and everybody was able to keep on the pack together without drifting or without desynchronization. We were actually, Nico asked to do a conga line, and we were able to do a conga line very easily. So that was like the ultimate test to multiplayer. And that is that as well, whenever you're walking into different directions, the multiplayer pack going to be following. So you can go with your group into another place without losing the connection to them. Okay, so this is what we have so far in the alpha, okay? Now, I mean, you need to understand that, as German said before, we have been working on the Explorer for a long time. It was like, I don't know, 6, 7 years of development. We have implemented this in 8, 9, well, a little bit more. But now that we have this kind of architecture, that unlocks the roadmap for us. We can go faster and we can deliver faster, and with a better performance and not worrying that much about performance anymore. So we want to implement all the stuff that we consider is important for feature parity. Of course, for every single feature that we lack, we're going to give them a twist and we're going to re-implement it in a different way, so it's better. We want to implement also new gameplay features, so the games feel fun to play every day. And continue crafting our digital identity. We have a big plan for that. And also working on all these SDK integrations and in-engine capabilities that we would like to see for a long time. So now we'll leave you with Aga, that will show you a little bit of the technical magic behind this. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, let me set up a little bit. I have to say, what? Oh, I need the clicker, yes. I have to say you spoiled a little bit my presentation, so I'll try a little bit. Okay, so yeah, we just had amazing presentation from Alvaro, where he just talked about all the redesign on the look and feel. Yeah. But I'll try to follow up on more the technical side, following our new direction, and also talk a bit more about the performance. Okay, so before I jump to the new client, let me talk a little bit more still about the old client and what we have currently. So the current client has been doing quite okay job so far. It made it us so far where we are all here, but it's definitely far from ideal. So as Alvaro mentioned already before, the client has been in development for 6 years around. We've experimented with many features, iterated over some of them a lot. But also, you have been pushing the limits. Every single update, every single improvement we've made, you've been pushing the limits further and further for us. So at the beginning, when we started working on the project, we really didn't know how far you can push the limits and also how creative you're going to be. So our past technical decisions were, let's say, not optimal for the future that we want to actually be. So let me quickly summarize the current major issues that you are facing pretty much every single day when you're using the client. So yeah, the current state. The world is quite empty. There's, you can see maybe a couple scenes around you and that's it. Then you have the boring empty parcels. That's basically how the world feels right now. You're very, very isolated. Then you have amazing green wall brokers. Thanks, Shibu, for the animation. That was really nice. So yeah, even with bigger load radius for the scenes, you still kind of can get trapped sometimes if the scene just fails to load, or you'll just get stuck and you cannot really move anywhere. We also have those funny bugs with avatars levitating around you, and probably maybe there might be reasons where someone is just jumping around you, but you'll see the person just levitating in the air because our multiplayer synchronization was not great, definitely not great. So before I jump further, let me quickly just introduce a small concept that I will be probably using a lot. Probably if you're a bit technical, you already know that, but let me just get everyone on the same page. So what is frame per second? In short, FPS. So games in general create the illusion of smooth motion by displaying quickly, one by one, still images. This is basically how we fake the movement. So in normal movies, you probably will have 24 images displayed in 1 second. But for more interactive experiences like games, you definitely want higher FPS. And basically, the more FPS, the higher the rate is, the more smooth and fluid and interactive the experience is, the responsive is. And basically, FPS is just the measurement of how smooth that motion is. And there also are cases where the frame rate, the time between the frames is actually not consistent. So some frames take longer than the others, some frames take shorter than the others. And when we experience this kind of cases, we would call them that those are hiccups, stutters, freezes. You would experience those. You have seen that in the client quite a lot, probably. So yeah, basically all those kind of issues related to performance, like choppy movement, freezes, stuff not loading, getting stuck, a lot of different, like those long-standing bugs that we have been dealing pretty much on every single day with you, but trying to find the solution, which was very hard for us. So in general, we've put a lot of work into the existing client. As Alvaro mentioned, like we worked so much on performance improvements over the years, but we hit the wall. Basically, there was no much further we could move forward. We also had to have a lot of limitations on the client, like we couldn't have more than 100 avatars rendered in one place, because otherwise the performance would be just horrible. And I guess you experience that in some events. When there's more people around, it's not really usable. We also had to limit how many scenes you can render around you, because otherwise it would also affect the performance. So that's one side. But also I want to talk a bit more about the experience for us developers working on the code base on day-to-day to actually make this stuff happen. So the code base and architecture was not in a great shape as well for us, makes some things very difficult to develop further. As I mentioned before, like we didn't know when starting a project how far your creative will push the boundaries of the project. So now, after many years, we actually understand a bit more what you want to build, like which direction you want to go. So adjusting the existing architecture would probably, well, it's actually impossible to do it and would take more time than rebuilding it from the scratch. Secondly, the project has been built using two technologies. So one is JavaScript, and the other one is Unity using C#. And those two technologies basically had to communicate with each other, which is not necessarily an easy task on the first place, but also working together on two technologies introduces few problems for us. So any new feature that we want to implement, it actually requires both developers from both technologies to work together. And because of that, maintaining the code base required a bigger team. And that leads to problems where sometimes the ownership of who is responsible for which part of the code was also not that well defined. Some of you, probably people in the front row, know that very, very well. And that made the code really hard for us to debug. So when there was some issues, debugging the problem required both people from both tech stack to work together, try to find the solution, where is the problem. It always just took more time, and sometimes was just also impossible. And also the current architecture made us replicating some of the issues that you have been experiencing. It's not like we didn't want to fix them. It was very hard for us to really replicate them on our side to be able to find the root cause and properly fix them. And also the one other problem is the multi-platform. Because of the JavaScript dependency, porting to other platform was very limited. So as what Alvaro mentioned, when we ported to desktop, it's actually a hack port. We have actually browser running in the background, which later on prevents us, for example, if you want to go mobile, VR, or any other platform, it's much more challenging. So we already know that there's a new desktop client 2.0, but taking all of that into consideration and looking where we want to be in the future, the only feasible option we actually saw at that point was to just rebuild the whole client from the scratch. And our goals were very clear. So we wanted to have consistent and high frame rate. We want to have smooth streaming, so basically walking through the world without hiccups, stuttering, freezes, and also be able to see much more. We wanted to have more scenes, more avatars, you have the new landscape rendering around you, so it's actually full and vibrant place to be. And with all of that, this basically would take us closer to the vision mentioned in the original white paper, which would basically mean building 3D, immersive, virtual, traversable world. So to make this happen, we actually had to make some choices because we built it in very, very short time if you're looking at how long the current Explorer has been in development. So we had to make some choices to make sure that we reach that milestone we are actually going to display quite soon in the PCs, but we decided to focus on desktop for now. So we dropped the web support. mostly because, like as Alvaro mentioned, the platform is very limited. It has so many restrictions. We just cannot push for the limits that we want to be. And also, we decided to drop support for SDK 6 and focus on SDK 7, mostly because we just don't want to bring the old technical debt with the new client and just like focus on the new future. Okay, so how did we achieve some of the things? I will keep it very casual and not go into very technical details, but still a little bit mention like some direction that we took. So we set our target to be 60 FPS on medium tier machine. So basically that means 16.7 milliseconds for everything needs to happen in 16.7 milliseconds. So that means like running all the game logic, displaying the world, avatars, processing input, animations, pretty much everything that needs to happen in that time. And if any of the system takes longer than that time, we will experience hiccups, freezes, basically what we had in old client. So it's actually a lot of things that needs to happen in one frame. So before we had a lot of systems that used to take quite a lot of time for different parts of the game logic. So we optimized everything. We optimized all the algorithms that are available there to get more time available for also the new things that we added in the new client. We also gave each scene dedicated like a frame budget. So that means that if some scene is very heavy, it will not affect the performance of the rest. So we try to still keep everything on specific level to not make your experience worse. Yeah, and another part is that with modern CPUs, basically they have a lot of cores to use for different operations. You can think of them as a separate processing units. So basically, we parallelized a lot of operations that we are doing on the new client. So instead of kind of like waiting for one task to finish and then continue on the other one, we basically try to execute them all at the same time, depending on your processing machine. Like the faster, the better CPU you have, the faster the game will perform. And this is beneficial because when you have the main thread is responsible for rendering and like processing your input. So it needs to be always free, waiting for your interaction to do. If that doesn't happen, then you'll feel like the game is frozen. It's like nothing works. That's how we perceive that moment. So that's why we parallelize everything and trying to keep the main thread free from like heavy processing. So this way we can keep the consistent and high frame rate. Okay, so next is about streaming. So streaming in and rendering this like massive and constantly changing world is a very challenging task in itself. So we went really deep on optimizing the memory management overall from the whole client. So when you're running Decentraland, we have to actually process a lot of data. So this is like 3D models, textures, sounds, gameplay logic. There's a lot of things, like all the scenes that you are building. You're pushing a lot of things there. So all of the data needs to be stored in memory, so it's like easily accessible by game, so the game can manipulate and modify it as it needs. But you know, like memory is not unlimited resource. It's something that we need to like very carefully manage over the time where you play the game. So for example, like constantly allocating and deallocating memory during gameplay can lead to performance issues, memory leaks, and crashes. So I'm going to give like one example. So imagine that you are working on a very cluttered desk. And every time you actually want to start working on something new, you would need to clean up the desk or maybe like look for some item that you're like, it's all in this messy stuff. And when that is happening, we cannot render the next frame. So we need to wait until you find this thing. And that's basically how stuff is getting slower with the old client. And we cannot process forward. So to address that, we have added memory budgets. We have also minimized allocations during happening every single frame from all the systems that we have. And we also introduced the concept of pooling to efficiently reuse memory instead of constantly expanding the, of course, like limited asset that we have. And pooling basically is extremely simple concept on a paper. So imagine that you want to write some notes. And you would like, let's say, take a pen to write the notes. So one approach would be you would just like get a pen, write the note, and just throw it away. That's probably not the most optimal thing you would do in your life. You'll probably run out of money very quickly, depending how many notes you are doing. But the other approach would be to actually have a pen holder. So this is our pool. So now when you're writing a note, you just go to the pen holder, grab a pen, write the notes, and put it back to reuse it the next time you actually need it. So as I said, the concept is extremely simple, but it requires a lot of engineering to actually get it to work because the memory that you're accessing has been used before, so it's not fresh and new. Like you need to actually make sure that the elements that you're reusing, they are ready to be reused properly. So yeah, this is a bit of what Alvaro already did, some spoilers for me. So we did a lot of ton of work to make sure that you can actually see more stuff around you, that the world is not empty. So apart from the landscape, which is amazing, we also introduced the concept of LODs. So this allows us to render more objects in the distance. So up close, the objects are rendered with like full resolution, so you can see like full resolution, high textures, like what you basically upload to the platform. But the further they get, we can actually simplify them to display them in more decimated representation. So basically, it's like having multiple objects of this, like multiple objects of the same asset, but just with different quality settings. And we create an automated pipeline for you that generates those assets, so you don't need to worry about this. And you know, as you will probably see soon, it's not perfect. It's not ideal. There is some visual bugs, and we are still aware of that. This is like an experimental feature. But overall, like the results are very promising because it keeps the world like that it's not empty. It shows that there is something to walk towards, like in the distance, in the horizon. And as it was mentioned before, like we will allow the creators to upload the custom LOD levels, so then they can decide on the quality standard that they want and what kind of representation they actually want to show in the further distance. We also took a completely fresh look at the networking and multiplayer side. So for communication layer, we have been using LiveKit, which is like an open source library that provides real-time client communication between clients. And previously, we have been using the JavaScript version. But with the new client, we've implemented completely native Unity support for it, which is much more performant than what we had before. And we also wanted to contribute back to the open source community by introducing our solution as the official native Unity SDK. And by overhauling the whole communication layer, we can now handle much bigger traffic. This is crucial for like smooth multiplayer, especially in more densely populated like areas like Genesis Plaza, Genesis City, or the bigger events that we plan to do. And also, we have completely rewrote the multiplayer code to achieve smoother avatar synchronization across clients. And you can see also like much better representation of the avatar path following you. Basically, you can see all the other avatars when you enter the world. They try to follow up on the more accurate path, even if the network conditions are not that stable. And there were also some nice improvements on the architectural side. So to make our life as a developers a little bit easier, but at the same time improve the speed, how we can actually produce more features for you guys. So the whole client is now using Unity natively. So instead, it was like partially web-based, which made some challenges I mentioned before. But this basically opens and allows us for the future to be accessible on more platforms and much easier, allowing us much easier to port for those new platforms. And we also clean up the architecture. So we build it in a more modular way, so that way we can introduce new features faster. And at the same time, we've invested, is that right, Misha? And at the same time, we also invested a lot into the error reporting. So basically, we can now see more things to solve the problems faster. Before, it was hard to debug some of the problems, so nowadays it will be much, much easier with all the information we are going to get. But okay. What is the sound? I don't know what is the sound. But now I want to actually go a little bit into more numbers and show the performance that we achieved. So on the screen, you can see me running through the same path, comparing the new and the old client. So yeah, I guess I don't need to talk a lot with that slide anymore. But yeah, in general, it's very hard to compare those two clients nowadays, because as you can see in the new client, we render a lot more. There's just like, the landscape, there's more scenes around you, there's more like the LODs, there's more meshes and everything. But we still wanted to compare the experience that you are going to perceive while you're playing the old client and the new client. So that's why both of those recordings are made on Windows machines. I'm using quality settings set both to medium and high on both those captures. And this is the result. So with the new client, we managed to get 79% faster performance. And one thing to add, as I said before, it's we are not comparing apples to apples here, because we have so much more systems running on the new client. So if we would take all of those systems away, we would probably be around 400 faster with the new client compared to the old one. But I just wanted to make sure that this is the experience that you are going to see on the machines. Okay, so the next slide is about memory. It was very hard to represent that. So as I said, you can look, there's two ways to look, few ways to look at the memory in general. So there's the one part that is the memory reserved up front from the 3D models, meshes, textures, landscape data, all those things. And we kind of allocate that up front. So we can't really reduce that much of that footprint. There's ways, but it's more difficult. So so the other crucial part is the memory that all the game logic that is running every single frame generates and allocates. So this is the representation of that. So this is all the systems that are running every single frame allocating memory. So with the old client, we had quite a big spike being generated every single frame. And that means that when you're running, you would get the hiccups. The longer you run the client, you might experience crashes, because memory is unlimited. There's memory leaks. It will just, basically, I guess. Another slide is the hiccups. So when I was running through that path that you just saw the video on the old client on desktop, this is how many hiccups I achieved during the 40 seconds I was running through the world. With the new client, yeah, it's a lot improved. You will probably see it soon. Okay. So as I said before, in the old client, we had the limit of 100 avatars. So now on this screenshot, I was just spawning 250 avatars, and I was still getting a stable around 60 FPS on my machine performance. So, and I just want to add a note, this is still alpha. We have still didn't do a lot of optimizations that we're planning to do, but we're trying to get everything all together, so there's still a lot of room for improvement. Okay, I'll take it. Okay, so this is still early alpha, and like that we managed to put in very, very short time. We started the work around a year ago, but it was a very small team. We started with like 3 people, basically just doing a prototype of different ideas that we had, how we can build the architecture. And in October, we moved the whole team to work on the project. So as you can imagine, it's not a long time that we have been working on this. And to put that into perspective, if you have like huge AAA games, let's say GTA, it takes around 5 to 6 years, and the teams are easily like 3,000 developers working on that project. So the current Decentraland client has been in works for around 6, 7 years, and the team that we have been working is definitely not near any of those numbers. So, of course, you're going to still see some issues, some bugs, some stability problems, because it's still alpha. It's still not ready. But those things don't happen overnight. But we've got an incredibly strong core that we've put in place that we'll be building and improving, for the upcoming months and years. Just a second. Let's keep it. So before I wrap up, I just wanted to give a massive thanks to the whole team. People like here, sitting in the front row, and everywhere there, for putting huge amount of work, pouring their souls into the project that we are going to showcase very soon. It's been a lot of work. A lot of hard work that we've spent every single day, making sure that the client is where we want it to be in the future. And creating a whole new client from scratch is like massive investment in resources and in time. But it was very crucial. We couldn't move forward with the plans that we have for the Decentraland without making this major step. So yeah, when just look around, you will probably see some of the developers around here. Just share with them their feedback, give them your thoughts. I think they will really, really appreciate that, because it's been very intense work that we have been doing. So there's still a ton of work ahead of us. But shipping this alpha is just the first step. We totally understand we have a lot of plans ahead. And we are going to keep pushing every single day to make sure we can build the best client we can get for the amazing community. So thank you very much. I hope you will enjoy the demo.
All right, you good? All right, so as you can see, the team has been crushing it behind the scenes. To everyone that's watching the live stream, there has been a lot of positive feedback I'm seeing online. We heard it from the room. We are really excited to share that you all will be doing a demo here live, and then everyone here that is interested will be admitted to the private alpha release. We just put the form in the Discord chat, so make sure you fill it out before you leave Argentina. We have some exciting stuff. So this is your early access. You will sign up on the form in Discord. It will be a private alpha, so it'll be invite only. You will get access through your Decentraland wallet. And then from there, we will share the tests we want you to run. We want you to be a part of it. We're gonna give you use cases to try. We're gonna have you try your scenes. Tell us what stuff is working as you expected, better than expected, or a little less than you expected. And we really want to have all of that open feedback and build it together with you before we do a public release later this year. So we are excited to get going. It is demo time. So one thing to say, we have only a few computers right here. Tomorrow, we also have an entire room during the workshop day for everyone to come by, play longer, do feedback. We'll have members of the team sitting in the room too. So there is time today, and there's also all day tomorrow. We will have computers set up as well. Thank you, and we'll take a break.